Do you think you have control of every decision you make? We'd like to think that we logically reason through every decision presented to us and align our behaviors with our goals and beliefs. But in fact, we are unconscious of many of the decisions we make. Our brains make thousands of decisions each day, and they are wired in ways that enable us, often unconsciously, to make the best decisions possible with the information we're given. Throughout our lives, we train our brains to extend the number of operations we can perform without thinking about them. As such, our ability to understand the factors that affect our behavior is surprisingly poor, and we often can't explain why we made a particular decision. Decision-making affects all aspects of our lives: what we eat, who we befriend, how we make money, and how we achieve our ultimate goals. In a world where we influence and are influenced by countless people around us, it is beneficial to understand the psychological principles behind the influencing process. Robert Cialdini, a professor and psychologist at Arizona State University, defined 6 principles of influence in which we all partake frequently. An understanding of these 6 principles will allow you to more skillfully navigate the hundreds of thousands of decisions you face on a daily basis.
According to Cialdini, the first principle of the 6 social influences is reciprocity, which is the tendency to feel indebted to those who help you or give you a gift. This might seem counterintuitive, but in reality, we do not choose who we owe, they choose it for us. This might be confusing, but imagine way back to 2nd grade, it was birthday season, and you were getting invitations in the mail left and right, until that one day when you got an invitation from that one classmate you never even talked to. Now when your birthday came around, your parents probably remembered that and felt obligated to extend an invitation to them as well. I'm sure most of us experienced this as kids, but it is a good idea to keep in mind that sometimes people use the influence of reciprocity to obtain individual gains. While it might be a good idea to accept the initial favors, always be very open to redefining the favor as either a trick or ploy to get you to return a favor. One way to combat this is to measure how large each of the favors are and decide your actions based off what you are comfortable doing.
The next principle is commitment and consistency. Imagine a grocery shopping trip where you encounter a group of Girl Scouts selling cookies outside the store. Although you don't need cookies, you remember your 5 years in the Girl Scouts spent outside similar grocery stores selling the same cookies. When you see the girls, you feel obligated to buy the cookies due to your past commitment to the ideals and goals of the Girl Scouts. Although you yourself don't have the incentive of a new badge to encourage you to buy the cookies, you would feel wrong not supporting them. That is the idea behind the principle of commitment and consistency. If people commit, orally or in writing, to an ideal or goal, they are more likely to honor that commitment. Even if the original incentive or motivation is removed after they have already agreed, they will continue to honor the agreement. In this example, the incentive to purchase cookies is removed and you will not earn a badge, but you still feel obligated to purchase due to your past connection with the organization and its values. Instead of blindly trusting your gut feeling, analyze the commitment and ask yourself if its costs outweigh its benefits. The next principle is a concept known as social proof. The principle of social proof relies on people's sense of safety in numbers. If all your friends jumped off a roof, would you jump too? Hopefully all of us would answer that question with a no, but that doesn't mean the concept behind the question doesn't manifest itself constantly in our daily lives. We frequently look to those around us for social cues and feel comfortable if our behavior matches theirs. Social proof can often lead us to make decisions that we would not have made without outside influence. Imagine a scenario where a group of your friends invites you out to lunch. You are rather stressed during lunch because you have an assignment to complete when you are finished, but your friends tell you how behind they are in their studies, which makes you feel a bit better about your situation. As you push your duties out of your mind, your friend suggests you all order beers, an activity you don't usually participate in at lunchtime. However, their enthusiasm encourages you, and you indulge in several beers instead of heading home to complete your assignment. While none of those choices were negative or wrong in and of themselves, the influence of your friends played a large role in them. We are particularly susceptible to the influence of social proof during times of uncertainty, and we are more likely to be influenced by people similar to us. In order to avoid being negatively influenced by social proof, we need to examine the force driving us to make our choices and avoid solely depending on others in times of uncertainty.
The next principle of influence is liking. People prefer to say yes to those who they like. There are 4 main reasons for liking. Physical attractiveness, which is the tendency to like beautiful people. Similarity, we tend to like people similar to us. Compliments, we tend to be suckers for flattery. And finally, association. We judge people based on the people and things they are associated with. While the first 3 reasons for liking another person are understandable, it is the 4th reason, association, that can get confusing and cause trouble for seemingly innocent individuals. Take the weatherman, for example. In sunny San Luis Obispo, the local KSBY weatherman probably goes through his life free of worry that his job will cause him harm. When major storms hit a region and cause damage to homes and farms, weathermen in those regions have become victims of assault and even death threats. In this example of negative association, people subconsciously credit the weatherman for the destructive event and allow this to fuel their hate for him. Here's a quote from forecaster Bob Gregory. I had one guy call and tell me that if it snowed over Christmas, I wouldn't live to see New Year's. While blaming the helpless weatherman seems ignorant, we are all susceptible to the temptation of shooting the messenger or succumbing to the influence of association. Associations often influence us to make unconscious decisions about people and offers, but luckily there is one common defense mechanism for avoiding falling prey to the power of liking. Instead of fighting these feelings, spend your energy to notice if you have liked a person more deeply or quicker than you would have in a different situation. Then, separate the person from the offer and judge the offer on its merit.
Authority is the next topic and the 5th influence in Cialdini's model. Authority is when people obey figures such as captains, coaches, parents, and leaders, even if they are asked to perform objectable acts. An example of a historical authoritative influence is back in World War II, when a man named Hitler used his authoritative power to influence millions of people to hate and kill the Jews. While Hitler employed many tactics of persuasion, including violence, his radical opinions alone carried more weight due to his position of power. Hitler used this influence to do horrible things, and those who followed him were not necessarily aware of this manipulation. In order to avoid succumbing to similar manipulation, step back and think if the order the authoritative figure told you to do is something you are able to live with. To help your decision, you can ask yourself if they are an expert in that field. But remember, it is your responsibility as an individual to recognize what the authoritative figure is telling you to do and what you are actually willing to do.
Perceived scarcity creates demand. How many times have we heard limited time only? Think about Apple and the iPhone. Even though their phones are sold out every year within the first few days of the release, Apple still doesn't produce enough phones for everyone. We have become conditioned to think that we are required to pre-order the phone if we want to get it. There is also Black Friday. People camp out all night to get the limited sales, and sometimes things can get pretty ugly. This is a classic definition of consumerism, which is the need for newer, better, and more sophisticated stuff in the right here and right now. Next time, wait a week and see if you are still interested in the product. Can you push this off until later on, or is it imperative that you have this right now? Many promotions that stress buy now are attempting to get the beginning 15% of early bird consumers on board before the product really takes off. Most of the time, buying early only gets you to pay more money for a novelty product.
So maybe we don't have conscious control over every decision we make, but knowing the shortcuts our brains make can open our eyes to the underlying influences of our behavior. Cialdini outlined 6 common principles of influence that we encounter daily, and an understanding of these can aid us in our decision-making process.